we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Do you know that I forgot to get a beverage? Can you believe that? You talk for an hour and you got to drink something. That is rookie stuff right there. But I did that. Happy, what day of the week is it? Wednesday? I think is it Wednesday? Pretty sure it's, no, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. Before I get rolling, there's a couple of things that we have to address real quick. And hey, squirrel. A couple of things we're going to knock out here real quick before I get going. First, somebody left a lifeboat and left a comment saying that they didn't like the direction that the boat was taking and it was going down a dark road and that it should be inclusive. Just want to say one thing real quick. I've never asked anybody on the lifeboat who they voted for before I put them into medically assisted treatment. I never asked anybody who they prayed to. I have never turned away anybody on the lifeboat because of who they are or what they are. Okay. The second thing is more disturbing. Miss V apparently does not like pineapple on pizza. I'm a little creeped out by that, V. I love you, but I'm saying I'm a little creeped out by that. Okay. Some of you missed this morning's lifeboat, and that's a shame because it was really a good one. I'm sorry, it really was. So there's going to be a little bit of recapping because if you don't catch some of what was said on this morning's lifeboat, then there's a really good chance that you're not going to understand what I am talking about. You know what? Miss Herman Hill, Kentucky says, don't forget to send butterflies to the like button. And I would appreciate that. I really would. That's good stuff. Someone is taking a picture of the house because they're thinking of buying it. That's right, sunshine. Okay, so here's the deal. This summer is going to be the summer that you look back on for the rest of your life as the one that changed you. I'm going to get into some stuff that's about me today, some admissions, because as I've said on last night's show, I was phoning it in. I was phoning it in on the lifeboat. I was phoning it in on my watch business. And I guess probably I was in some form of relapse because I certainly wasn't moving forward the way that I should. I wasn't getting the joy out of the things that I was doing that I should be. You have to create passion. It doesn't create itself. And, you get 1,000 watches in the business and you're repairing some and you're doing this or you're doing that and you lose track and you don't give it the same passion that you did when you had 6 or you had 2. And my purchasing agent is from Australia. Beautiful girl named Linda. You all know Linda. So Linda said to me one day, I was at a watch show. She said, I found a Devil Diver by Caravel. The Devil Diver is a reference because it used to say on the dial that it was waterproof or water resistant to 666 feet. So I said, yeah, let's get this thing. And it is a very angular watch, as was very popular in 1980. So it's difficult to find a band for it, a strap for it. And it's taken me a really long time to find something that looks right. Everything else just looks like, why is that strap on that watch kind of a thing? So I finally found one that really fits it beautifully. So as I'm looking at this thing correctly, and it's got a Coca-Cola bezel, which is a really big deal in the watch world. Anyway, today I'm looking at it, and underneath the 6, it says T, which is for tritium, the radioactive stuff that makes the lume glow. It says T, West Germany, T. This is not a Swiss-made bulova. It is a West German-made bulova. I had just finished listing it for about double what Linda found it for. It's worth 4 times what Linda found it for. So hats off to Linda. But if you don't go at everything you do with the intensity that you did when you loved it, then you're phoning it in. And I talked about that last night. And this morning I talked about how to actually fix that. Now, here's where I'm going to get into some admissions. I have avoided life coach stuff in any way. And it has cost the lifeboat dramatically. And it has cost people on the lifeboat dramatically. If I'm not talking about life coach kind of stuff, I'm not a life coach. But if I don't talk about moving forward, then all I talk about is how to stop doing drugs. And that's not the most important part of this. It's the smallest part of this. The way that you stop doing drugs is by getting enjoyment out of life equal to or greater than the enjoyment that you got out of drugs. So it's super important that you concentrate on the stuff that really borders on life coaching. The reason I haven't done it is because my mentor was a friggin' life coach. Make no mistake. He was not just a guy that was going to help you get sober. He was going to change your life. And I feel woefully inadequate when I try to do what he does. And I'll tell you something, I'm a better speaker. I really am. I'm a much better speaker. He wasn't trained for that. But he had the ability to make you understand what you needed to do in a way that I cannot do. And it makes me feel inadequate. And that feeling of inadequacy kept me from moving the lifeboat into a phase that it needs to move into. I say things like, man, you got to journal. You need to make your bed. Right? And I say them over and over again. I don't really get into the why of it. I don't really get into the how much this can change your life. I don't get into any of that. I don't get into the fact that base camp, which I talk about all the time, how do you get away from base camp? That's the most important question on the lifeboat. How do I get from base camp to my new life? There is nothing more important. But because I feel a little inadequate in talking about these things, I have avoided it because I felt like I wasn't good enough to do it. And you know what? I'm not. However, it doesn't matter. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. I know that the people on the boat are reaching a plateau and not getting any further. And it's because we talk about the same things. If somebody just gets here, they go, oh, this is fantastic. But then they realize that 2 or 3 weeks from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, we're talking about the same things. So this morning, I talked about setting some goals. I talked about how the most powerful thing in your life, whether you realize it or not, is this, right? The pen or the pencil. If you do not have one of these in your hand every single day for the rest of your life, you are going to fail. Bank on it. So this morning, a bunch of people saw this video, and I had, without exaggeration, 10 people who reached out to me and said, I can't believe what a coincidence it is that you struggled so much with making lists, setting goals, doing anything where you had to write down on a piece of paper, because I'm the same person. I struggle with this. This is the hardest thing in the world for me to do. What a coincidence. Do you think that's a coincidence? It's not. The reason that we all struggle with that is we are not where we need to be. We are all recovering drug addicts, and we are not where we need to be. Where we need to be is on top of the mountain. We're on base camp. We're moving, but if we want to move to the next level and really get there, you got to pick one of these up. And we're not good at it, because if we were good at it, we wouldn't be on the lifeboat, right? All of this would have already been figured out. Because the way that a pipe dream becomes a goal is you take this thing and you write down what that pipe dream is. That lofty ambition that you've been talking about for 10 years and done nothing to do anything to move it forward. Why? Because it's a dream. Dreams live in a realm that, unfortunately, don't do squat to move you forward. And there are people who dream the greatest dreams in the world. I've listened to guys go off on things that they were going to do and thought, wow, this guy has got it, or this girl has got it. They know exactly what they're going to do. But they never picked up one of these. And in 10 years, they'll be telling somebody else what that goal is, that dream, rather. They'll be telling somebody else, I got the greatest idea in the whole world. But they never take this thing and write it down on a piece of paper. And when you write down what your goal is, you then have to write down why it's your goal. Because some goals are stupid. I want to own a Ferrari. I want to own a $200,000 wristwatch. Okay, if that's your goal, when you start writing down the why of that, you're going to realize it's probably not that big a deal. For real. I want breast augmentation. Right? I want this. I want that. I would like cheekbone implants. You start writing down why that is really important, and you're just going to start going, you know what? Maybe that's not the most important thing in the world. But if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, and when you start writing down the why, you write, I'm not healthy. This is hurting me. It is damaging this, this, and this. It's stopping me from doing this, this, and this. This thing right here will weed out the stupid from the intelligent. I promise you it will. When you're journaling, it peels the onion back. It gets past the symptom of cocaine, heroin, meth, and it gets to the root of the problem, the snapshot in your memory that you need the drug to get by. And when you start to expose that thing to sunlight, when you take that snapshot and you let somebody else look at it, really unusual things start to happen. I had 3 people today reach out to me and say, I admitted something yesterday or today in the chat that I've never told anybody, but I felt the desire to get it off my chest. Damn. So am I a life coach? No, I'm not good enough at it to be a life coach, but I'm going to tell you what the life coach told me. And I'm going to do my damnedest to make you understand it. Because if not, I'm not helping this boat move forward. And that's a sin. That's phoning it in. So I told the crew this morning, write down where you want to be in 30 days, where you want to be in 6 months, and where you want to be in 1 year. And I'll tell you a story. And it's not, nothing that I tell you is, take a look at Tommy. Seriously. But most of the illustrations that I can tell you have something to do with me. That's just kind of how it works. So I have had a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, and I've had 2 full-blown strokes. These were caused not by drug use, although I'm sure that didn't help, but it was caused by too many shots to the head, which has caused a cerebral infarction, a dead spot in the brain. And blood doesn't like to go through that dead spot. So it takes capillaries around the outside of it, turns it into blood vessels, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when that blood backs up and doesn't get going and push all the way through, you have a stroke. That's called an ischemic stroke. If it blows that vessel out and you start leaking blood into your brain, that's called a hemorrhagic stroke. By the grace of God, neither of my strokes were hemorrhagic. They were both ischemic. My second one, I was incarcerated when it happened. And I was in a cell alone. And I was playing solitaire. And the bunks were set this way. So there was a bunk like this, and your feet would go under where the feet of the other guy was. So it's like an L. And since I was alone, I was sitting on one bunk and I was playing cards on the second one. And something happened. And I don't remember the stroke taking place. What I remember is the door opening. And I had been crawling with one half of the body because the other half didn't work. It just didn't work. And I couldn't speak. I tried, but because one side of my face was drooping and I was trying to crawl apparently either to the door or to the panic button. And I was leaving a big trail of blood and urine. because I lost control of my bladder. And I hit my face really hard on the floor when I fell from that bunk, which is about 4 feet off the ground. So there I am laying in a puddle of pee from too much coffee and of blood from busting my grill open. And they opened the door, and they came in, and they had to take me out of the jail, obviously. And I got taken down to, this was not prison, it was jail. And I got taken down to a hospital where I spent 4 days. And then I got brought back. I got brought back in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. One side of my body was refusing to work. And I could not work one of these because my right hand didn't do what it wanted it to do. And my hand came back way faster than my leg did. And that was disturbing to the medical people that worked on me. And I talked to a guy that said, you're going to drag your toe for the rest of your life. And that's if you can walk without the use of a walker. And what he basically said was, for the rest of your life, when you get around, you're going to have to use a walker. Because after this type of injury, you're not going to be able to get that foot up and move it. I won't say on the lifeboat what I said. And I doubt he could have made it out anyway. But there was an F-bomb in there. And the first thing that I could do, once I could pick one of these up, is I said, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. So I gave myself 6 months to get out of that wheelchair, which I did not accomplish. But that was my goal. And what I started doing was, at month 1, I started to try to lift that leg, to just start getting it going up in the chair. And I would do it for hours. And in the beginning, it was a couple of inches. It was really almost worthless. But 7 months later, I got rid of that wheelchair and I got a walker. And I would, like old men do in movies. And then the walker got wheels. So I could sort of just kind of push myself along. And true to the doctor's word, I would drag my right toe so badly that every couple of months I would have to buy a new pair of shoes because the right toe would be gone on the shoe that I had. The other one would be great. I had a crap load of really beautiful left shoes, but I was torching the right ones pretty quick. And then I got rid of that walker. Again, a month longer than my goal, but I got rid of that walker and I went to a cane, and the cane took a long time to get rid of. And then one day I got rid of the cane and I started to go outside and I'd start to try to walk a mile, and it would take about 45 minutes. And I would wear out a damn pair of shoes in about 5 or 6 days. 12 months later, I was walking 16 miles a day. And I remember rounding the corner, and they had markings to tell you how long it was on the walkway. And I was at the 1 mile marker, and it was about the second mile. And as I rounded the corner, my toe didn't drag. And I remember tears welling up in my eyes. And I thought, you know what? F them. You wait and see how much I walk. I wrote it down. And I promise you that if I didn't, I'd still be in that friggin' chair. Because there's a big difference between dreams and goals. You write down what your goal is. You write down why you want it. And then you write down what you're willing to do to get it. I'm telling you, it sounds like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins. But there's nothing on this planet that you can't do if you put your mind to it. And I mean within reason, right? There are limits. If you're 4'7", you're probably not going to play in the NBA. I don't care how much time and effort you put in. It's just not going to happen, right? It's the reason you write down the goal and the why. Because if you're 4'7" and you write down your goal is to get into the NBA, the why, ooh, somebody just bought a watch. Cha-ching! Sorry. The truth of the matter is, whatever those limitations are, unless they are insurmountable, and by that I mean, look, 5'2", you're not going to dunk a basketball unless you're Spud Webb. Boy, I just sold a beautiful watch. This one is, I almost am sad to see this go. Okay, sorry. So here's what's happening. Summer's coming. Summer 2003. And for the rest of your damn time on this planet, if you do what I tell you to do, for the rest of your time on this planet, you're going to look back on 2023 summer as the summer of you. The summer that every single thing changed. And I don't care if you want to lose weight. I don't care if you want to cut out sugar. I don't care if you want to stop smoking. I don't care what you want to do. This is the summer. Somebody else is looking at the house. Boy, we're on fire. Do you understand what I'm telling you? This is it. This is it. This is the summer that you become the new you. Are you going to get through it? No, you're not. You're not. If your goal is to lose 150 pounds, you're not doing it in 30 or 60 days. But in that first 30 to 60 days, you will realize it's possible. Noise Opera, thank you, my brother. You are absolutely going to realize this is possible. Once you realize it's possible, there's not much that's going to get in your way. See, the problem is we kick the crap out of ourselves every single time we set a goal. Every single time we set a goal. Every great story starts with somebody saying, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's a pipe dream, right? I was a theater major in college, and the Fiona traveled to Tommy, to Tommy's side fund. All of you can toss in on that one. I'm not going to give you any help for that. Seven Son, your class act. Thank you, my brother. When you go for an audition, they fill out something called the pinks. It's a pink sheet. For whatever reason, it's pink. And they write things down on it. And it's vicious, like nothing you have ever seen. So I go to audition and they say, nose is way too big. He's got eye ridges that look like a caveman. We can't have, like, it's not nice. So you go to Hollywood, you can get a screen test. They don't do it as much as they used to. But you could go in and they would have you read some scripts. They would have you sing, especially back in the golden days. The guy, good to see you. Fred Astaire's pink sheet, the first one they ever filled out on him. When he went for an audition, he kept his entire career. He framed it and put it on the wall. Some of you may be really young and do not know who Fred Astaire is. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. He made a ton of movies. He danced in every one of them and he sang in a lot of them. And he was probably the biggest star of his time, hands down. And his pink sheet said, the first one, can't sing, can't dance, can act a little. Those were the three things they wrote on that. Can't sing, can't dance, can act a little. The most famous dancer in history, if you're a guy. As far as movies go, nobody's close. What if he picked up that pink sheet and looked at it and said, I'm not any good at this. I can't do this. We would have a different world. That man created a crap load of ripples, a crap load. Entertained troops in every single country, went in times of war with the USO. Just an incredible human being. Can't sing, can't dance, can act a little. The Beatles got turned down by record labels. The band that became known as Led Zeppelin was called Led Zeppelin because they wrote in a magazine that they were going to go over in America like a Led Zeppelin. A Zeppelin, of course, being a lighter than air ship, a blimp. Yeah, they're going to go over like a lead blimp. Good call, right? They didn't really amount to much, did they? They were the first rock band, I think, that had a 737, right? It said Led Zeppelin on the side. Like, if you talk about a band that kicked the hell out of things, Led Zeppelin left a mark. And every single story starts that way. So the question is this. How many Fred Astaires took that first pink sheet and said, I'm no good? Have you ever heard of a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul? I bet you have. It is one of the #1 selling books in history. It has spawned 100 other kinds. Chicken soup for the convict soul, chicken soup for the alcoholic soul, chicken soup for the prisoner. Yeah, I mean, you can't come up with a chicken soup. But Chicken Soup for the Soul never had a publisher that said yes. It never happened. True story. Couldn't get it done. So a company that is defunct, long out of business, that people do not believe in and they think it was a scam, but it was a club of sorts. Thank you, Heather Joy. It was a club of sorts that helped businesses get off the ground. And the authors came and said, I need everybody in this club to say they'll buy 5 books. If everybody in the club says, I'll buy 5 books, I can go to a publisher and say, we already have an order for 7,000 books. That was back then an initial run is a 7,000 print. Without that, they don't get off the ground. They were turned down by everybody on the planet. Smart guys, right? They didn't see it. The trouble is, a lot of people take that first bump in the road and they cash in their chips. And they go back to mediocrity. They accept base camp. Is this summer going to be easy? No, it's not. There will be relapses that have nothing to do with drugs. There'll be relapses where you won't pick up a pen for 5 or 6 days and you'll start going in the wrong direction. There'll be people that stop believing that they can do it. They'll lose the dream. Or they'll lose the goal and it'll go back to being a dream. Not everybody will be successful. But everybody that says, I'm not quitting, will be successful. I promise you. You do what we say. And I say we because this isn't me. I'm just telling you what somebody a lot smarter than me has helped a crap load of people with. People, I have done more in the last 6 years than I did in the first 46. 10 times more. It's not an exaggeration. If you had any idea how far I have come just since leaving prison, I've done more since leaving prison than I did in the first 50 years of my life, 49 years of my life. And things that people said, you're going to go tell people how to live a better life? Bank robber? Yep. The beautiful thing was, I didn't want to make money doing it. And I really only wanted to help 6 people. And if I could help 6, I was going to help 6 more. Now people on this boat have helped 6 people. People on this boat have changed people's lives. I had a morning that was amazing. In spite of somebody, leaving a message that was kind of a bummer. I got an email from Tommy Bird that said, the doctor at the clinic is going to be giving out the lifeboat's address to all of the people on Suboxone at the clinic. Because he went in there playing it. We had a great back and forth emails. Tommy's just an incredible person. I spoke to about 6 people from the lifeboat today, and every one of them inspired me in ways I can't explain. I told Alan Ballantyne today in a message and in an email that he's one of the biggest inspirations I've ever met. If you got over 100 pounds to lose and you think that that's impossible, email Alan Ballantyne and ask him what's possible. Alan didn't lose well over 100 pounds. And by the way, he dipped below 170 today. But he didn't lose that weight because he's a magician. He lost that weight because he wasn't going to take no for an answer. And he didn't have any intention of going on a diet. He was just going to change his life, which he's done. And I mean, he has done. And it's a domino effect, people. It is a domino effect. The ripples I was talking about on this morning show, the ripples that don't leave your body, your ripples. It's why you make your bed in the morning, because it starts a ripple that says, I'm not going to live the way I used to live. If you didn't make your bed this morning, damn it, make your bed. Why would you keep showing up and not listen? You want to live a better life. Don't live in filth. Clean your damn room. For real. Johnny is on the boat. Ask Johnny what my room used to look like. First of all, I have a collection of clothing. My entire life, I've been a clothes horse. You know what I mean? Like I have way more clothing than I need. And I have my entire life. I've been a freak about it. 40 or 50 pair of pants. Like I collect clothing. I've always been a clothing guy. And I'm not out blowing huge money. Like I dig going to secondhand stores, things like that. But I have a huge, ridiculous collection of clothes. And every single one of them were on the floor. You could not see the floor of my room for decades. For decades. I lived in a home, and I remember cleaning tin foil from the basement that I had used to smoke heroin and threw on the floor. And in one room, it was a foot deep. I'm not exaggerating, not even slightly. Thanks, DW. Appreciate you. I really do. You can take tin foil and you can ball it up. We took 4 Glad 3-ply bags full of tin foil from smoking heroin out of that room. Now, we didn't live in that room. It was a spare bedroom. But I would go in there. That room was so disgusting that honestly, we should have called in a hazmat team. There was probably 1,000 syringes in there. People, I was the world's biggest slob. Ask my brother what my room looks like now. Because I love cleaning my room? Hell no. I'm never going to be that guy. But because everything you do needs to be a statement of who you're becoming. What is your statement? Because if there is clothing all over the floor of your room, you know what the statement is? I'm not going to achieve my dreams. Those goals, never going to happen. I can't even clean my friggin' room. I can't even clean my room. I'm going to fix my marriage. I'm going to get a better job. I'm going to stop renting and start owning. I can't clean my room. That's the statement. I can't even make my bed in the morning. What's that telling you? The first thing that you should do every single morning to say, I'm going to make this a hell of a day, I blow that off. How do you think the rest of your life's going to go? If I sound like a dick, I'm sorry, but this is nuts and bolts. And you know what? It's not just me making suggestions. You want this to be the summer of change? You want to spend the rest of your life looking back on 2023 and going, holy crap, that was the year. That was the year. I started that year a guy that I didn't respect or a gal I didn't respect. I started that year in neutral and I finished it going 130 miles an hour with my hair blowing back. Well, most of you got a lot of hair. Get organized. Start taking control of the small things. Because if you don't take control of the small things, you think you got a freaking chance of taking control of the big things? You set lofty goals, but you can't make your bed. You can't put the top back on the toothpaste tube. Trust and believe you're not going to be successful. Sorry. Now, I'll get an email from someone that says, I know a dude's worth $6 million and his room's a mess. People, there is an anomaly to every single thing I could possibly say. So spare me those emails because I get them every single time I say something like this. Is there a guy out there today who snorts cocaine all day long and gets every single goal that he wants in life done? He smokes 6 packs of cigarettes a day and he's healthy anyway? Yeah. Those idiots survive somehow. But if you take 10,000 people and all of them do exactly that regimen, how many do you think are going to be a success? That one. For real. Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar is 75 years old. He still drinks every single night of his life. Says he's never gotten addicted. Says he doesn't get up with the shakes. He doesn't have a hangover. And the man's worth $100 million. They exist. Those people are out there. Phew, good news, huh? Tell you what, people, it's not an accident. It really isn't. When you start doing things and you stop phoning it in, crazy stuff starts happening. First of all, that was another watch. Weird, huh? It's not like I'm calling people, but I have sold more watches in the last 2 days than I have in the last 2 weeks. And I don't make phone calls. You can say that attitude and putting stuff out into the universe, you can say all of that stuff is fake. You can say none of that stuff really matters. But it's really kind of shocking how many freaking people say that it does. You ever heard Elon Musk's speech about figuring it out? One day it finally just clicked and he figured it out. And in about 10 years, the guy was a gazillionaire and went from, I got a way that everybody can take credit cards. You understand PayPal was him, right? You realize you pull off PayPal, you go like this, right? You buy a house on the beach and you get a really nice car. The ripple effect in that man's body, his biggest inspiration was Nikola Tesla. So he figured, I'll start an electric car company. The big car at the time was, I believe, was the Leaf, it was called. The government was subsidizing it for so much money that when you bought one for $40,000, the car company was getting $280K. Yeah. The rest of it was coming from the government as a subsidy because we were saving the planet. Elon Musk came out and said, I don't need any of that. They said, we can get 40 miles on a charge. He said, I do 180. And my car will go 0 to 60 faster than a Ferrari. The first car he built, hit it out of the park. At that point, you probably do this number, couldn't you? Man, I started PayPal, and now I built the first electric car that actually works. I mean, that is a hands down, you can drive this thing. This is cool. No, not satisfied with that. He decided he'd like to become NASA. Since we didn't have NASA anymore, not properly. NASA still exists, but doesn't send anybody into space. So he just decided he'd start building rockets. People, it's a domino effect. And you may not believe this, but I'd be willing to bet you cash that really small things. The first program he sold, I read it somewhere. He was like 12 years old or something, the first program he ever wrote. Those ripples happen. All you got to do is believe. You got to believe. I've told the story before, but it's one of my absolute favorites. If you've ever been to Disneyland, Disneyland's really cool. Disney World is ridiculous, right? The one in Florida is just ridiculous. And everybody knows the story. The guy showed up in Florida with $40. $40. Can you imagine going and pitching a bank on the concept? I'm going to buy a big enough chunk of land to make a city. And I'm just going to make it so that kids can go and play there. And it's going to be so cool. Adults are going to want to play there. I'm going to create this huge magic kingdom for people to go and have fun in. I'm sure the banks were like, great. How much do you need? How many banks do you think he had to go through to get that? But his biggest dream was Epcot Center. Everything else, and Disney's great, but Epcot Center was his dream. He died before it opened. And at the grand opening, his brother was there cutting the ribbon. And a reporter went up and said, you know, it's kind of bittersweet, don't you think? And he said, I don't know what you mean. He said, well, that Walt's not here, to see his dream, that he never got to see it. He said, let me tell you something. If Walt never saw his dream, you wouldn't be looking at it. If Walt Disney was still alive today, good Lord, what would he have done? That man didn't know failure. Wasn't a concept that he was familiar with because he didn't accept it. Can't sing, can't dance, can act a little. What if you took that and ran with it? I'm a failure. We're going to go over like a Led Zeppelin. Why bother even going to America? They're just going to crap all over us. The tour's not going to go well. He's another really funny story. This company called Amway. And Amway probably gets more jokes told about it than any other company in the world because it's network marketing. And it was the first real big company that got family and friends to try to sell things to family and friends. Really can cost people, friends, and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, like them or hate them, whatever, they're one of the most successful privately held companies in the entire world. They have their own airport in Michigan, right? And it looks like, first time you drive by, it looks like LAX. There's planes taking off every 30 seconds, and every one of them is just taking Amway crap to different parts of the world. They make more money in every country you can think of than most companies do worldwide. They're an absolute freak show. Very odd business model. But The day that they started, the guy decided to pitch these people on the concept, and he got them all in a basement, 13 of them. And he said, here's the deal. Everybody needs shampoo. Everybody needs toilet paper. Everybody needs soap. What if you just bought it from somebody you already knew? I mean, if you could get all of that stuff from your brother, would you go to the store to get it? So I'm going to make it so that you can sell this stuff and make money. And people will just keep reordering it every month. Every time they buy this stuff, you get a check. And if somebody says, wow, that's a cool idea, you can sign them up and you get a little bit off of what they do. And it looks like a pyramid. You've heard this, right? One of the 13 people went, I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm not putting up any money for this. If you look at Amway's genealogy, of which there are hundreds of millions of people who are enrolled in Amway, but it starts with 12 rows at the top, and those 12 rows go down. So at the very bottom, you're looking at 4 or 5 million people across in that pyramid. There should have been 13. There are 12. Those 12 people probably make $30 to $40 million a month without lifting a finger. Most are dead, but their family in perpetuity, just every month. You write down your goals. You write down why you want to do it, and you write down what you're willing to do to make it happen. There are a million success stories. How many failure stories do you think there are? How many stories of people that just never wrote it down? Greatest ideas in the world. Could have changed the planet. Just never wrote it down. It stayed a dream. It never became a goal. They never wrote down what they were willing to do to get it. What do you want? What are you willing to do to get it? And why do you want it? You need to be writing that stuff down every single day. You want another little gem? Seriously, a gem? I walked around in prison with stamps in my pocket. There's no cash in prison. For obvious reasons, they don't allow money in there. But they have to sell you stamps because you have to put them on envelopes if you're going to mail something home to somebody, right? So stamps become the currency. And they do have actual value because you could mail something with it. And right, there's something stamped onto it. So stamps are the currency that you spend for things in there. And there are people who have, $6,000 and $7,000 worth of stamps in their cell. And then what they do is they sell those stamps to people who need the stamps to buy drugs or to buy whatever. And the money gets sent to the street. And there's a whole, industry in there of this, this currency. So I would walk around. A book is 20 stamps. And you take a book, and you wrap rubber bands around it. It looked like a little square. And I would keep them in my pocket. And at work, there would be somebody that said, hey, I just made burritos. They're 4 stamps a piece if you want some at lunch instead of having to go to the chow hall. Hey, I got cold Cokes. They're 2 stamps a piece. So I would go to Unicor every day to go to work. And I didn't go to lunch. I'd buy a couple of sodas. I would buy, a couple of burritos, whatever the guys had made. And I would just go over and I would buy it and I wouldn't even think about it. And I would do this every day, every single day. One day Q came up to me and said, I want you to do me a favor this week. And at this point, I'm sober. And it's starting to sink in. Like I'm starting to see some success in my life. And I said, you got it, bud. What do you want? He said, you're journaling. I said, yeah, I'm journaling. He said, okay. When you go to work tomorrow, I want you to write down how many stamps you got in your pocket when you leave your cell. And I said, oh, I usually know what I bring. He goes, what do you bring? A book? 2 books? I said, I usually carry a book. I got a book in my pocket. 20 stamps. $10. Actually, it's confusing, but it's worth 8, even though it's 50 cents a stamp. Anyway, it's about $8. And he said to me, and then when you get home, I want you to write down how many stamps you got in your pocket. I did that for a month. And I realized how much money I was blowing on stupid things. Try that in the real world. When you leave your house tomorrow, write down how much money you got in your pocket. Do you realize that there are people that make ungodly money, just determining how to get you to impulse buy things at the cash register. Believe it. How much money do you think you blow every year on stupid impulse buys? I get people that write to me every single day that say, man, I'm hurting for money. I guarantee you make enough money not to hurt. Seriously. If not, you would have quit your job long ago. If your bills total $3,000 a month, but you make $2,000, you quit. Pretty logical. If your bills total $3,000 a month and you're making $4,000, and you say, I can't live on that, I'm broke. Okay, how much money do you spend on coffee? How much money do you spend on cigarettes? How many times do you buy a candy bar a day? And I'm not saying you can't have a candy bar, but you could buy a 20-pack of them and put them in your house. I am going to be doing a couple of shows just on finance. And am I a financial guru? Absolutely not. But I will show you a system that, as God is my witness, if you follow, at the end of the month, you are going to email me and go, I have no idea how I have this much money. This doesn't make any sense. You follow it. And I know this because I followed it. And I was blown the hell away. And I got out into the real world, and I'll pat myself hard as hell on the back for this. I will. I'm taking a bow on this one. I don't do this often. I'm taking a damn bow on this one. Because I got out of prison and I went to a halfway house, and I had freedom for the first time in damn near a decade. And I had this thing. Holy crap, right? You go from having nothing to having this thing. I could order DoorDash and they'd bring it to the halfway house. I could order anything online, they would deliver it. And I watched people buy Beats by Dr. Dre. I watched people buy brand new Nike Air Jordans, or whoever makes Air Jordans now. But they bought kits, and they bought headphones, and they bought new phones, and they bought all of these things that they've been looking at the whole time they were in prison. That's all they did. I wasn't allowed to get a bank account, right? You couldn't leave to get a bank account. So they kind of have a little system set up. I wasn't allowing them to hold my money and get interest on it. The federal government was not going to make any money that way. So I had Cash App, because that I could do, right? I could set that up without leaving the place. So my company would Cash App my paycheck to me. And I was making about $25 an hour. And I was working a hell of a lot of overtime. I was working in a shipyard. You know what I bought? Bitcoin. That's what I bought. I bought Ethereum. I bought cryptocurrency. Did I know cryptocurrency? No. But I knew I could buy it on Cash App without having to go and set up accounts and do all that stuff. And the guys who were trying to do that, and they were setting up Robinhood, and they were setting up all these different apps to try to invest. All I could buy was Bitcoin or Ethereum. Those were the only two I had a shot at getting. And you know what? I made a stinkload of money. Not because I'm a great investor, but because I wasn't spending money on anything. Guys were going, dude, we're buying, we're Cash Apping, we're DoorDashing food to come in here. No, there's no way in hell I'm DoorDashing anything. I'm not. I'll eat this crap food. And the food was bad. Bad. But I was coming out cold. I didn't have $1 to my name. For real. They told me that there was going to be clothing for me at the halfway house. I walked out of prison with a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, a lot of pictures, and a gym bag. Literally, that's what I had. I got to the halfway house like a dumbass and said to them, I understand you got clothing in the basement or something. I get to go down. And the guy said to me, what are you talking about? I said, you don't provide clothing? He said, no, we never have. Thankfully, Sister Scoville bought me a pair of work jeans, a pair of work boots, and 2 shirts. And you know what? I wore those jeans. I had a pair of sweatpants that somebody had left there when they got sent back to prison. And I would put those sweatpants on when I washed those jeans, right? And I washed them every single night when I came home from work because I painted and I got crawled through bilges. But I put away so much damn money in that year that I was in that halfway house. And that money doubled, tripled, because I had it in something. That you don't have to be a genius. You can make bad investments. You can. But you know what? Even bad investments. Beat the hell out of Beats by Dr. Dre, or brand new shoes, or a gold chain, or all of the things that these guys, I looked at them and just thought, that's how you're going to create a new future for yourself. Boy, I wish you had met Q. Q had never been to a halfway house, been in prison since he was 17. But he was smart enough to say to me, when you get out of here, you have no idea how badly you're going to want to blow every single penny that you make on stupid things. And when you leave the halfway house, you'll be starting from scratch. Or when you leave the halfway house, you'll have enough money to put a down payment on a house. And I was blessed as hell that at that time, it really didn't matter what cryptocurrency you bought, they were all going through the roof. I mean, that's a blessing, and that just is what it is. But the point is, I didn't spend anything on anything stupid. And that's not me. That's not me, people. You know how bad I wanted to buy a watch? God, you know how bad I wanted to buy a watch? My brother Johnny sent me a beautiful watch. And I was happy as hell. I've been wearing a digital watch for 7 years. And I used to joke that it was the worst part of prison. I just can't do digital watches, man. Like, I'm a watchmaker, the whole mechanical thing. But he sent me a really, really nice watch. I still have it. We waste money. We waste time. We waste effort. We waste our lives. Did you catch that? And it makes sense because we spend how much time wasted? So my suggestion would be this. Stop wasting money. More importantly, stop wasting time. Stop dreaming and start setting goals. What are you willing to do for them? What can you do today to get closer to your goal? Let's go back to that 100 pounds. You want to lose 100 pounds. What can you do today to get you closer to that goal? I don't know. How are you living? Are you drinking 5 sodas a day? Replace them with water and watch what that does. If that's all you did for a year, was replace the sodas that you're drinking every day with water, if it's the only thing you did, it would change your life. If you did nothing else. But if you said, okay, I'm going to do that and I'm going to spend 26 minutes a day walking. 26 minutes a day, I'm going to walk. You may not believe this. You may not believe this. But my entire last prison sentence, I didn't sit down unless a cop told me to. That is a gospel truth. I did not sit down unless a cop told me to. I stood up. I stood up at work. If I watched anything on the news, which was rare, I did it squatting in a very odd, my brother Johnny's laughing right now. I don't sit down. I do it on the lifeboat because I have to. But I read this big thing about sitting down and how bad it is for you. And this and that. We had spent a lot of time working office jobs. When I went from being a public speaker and getting blackballed and had to go back end sales and get on a phone, I spent a lot of time sitting down. I don't sit down. I really don't. And when I was in prison, I was vicious about it. Guys used to come up and say to me, dude, do you ever sit down? Everybody gets 2 chairs in their cell. And the cell's not very big. So I used to immediately give my chair away. It made my place a whole lot bigger. And my cellmate would go, man, you're going to bum out not having a chair. Trust me, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. People, you can work out anywhere. I don't have any time. You know what a squat is? You don't need any weights. You don't need anything. You know what a squat is? Squat. Do it at work. Do 5 of them a day. 5 squats. Start with that. People, I'm telling you, you want to change your life, shove your chips into the center. I'll tell you to do things. You do them. Your life will change. You will get what you want. If you don't do what I tell you to do not send me an email telling me how it doesn't work. Make your bed. Journal. If those 2 things aren't happening, don't even waste your time with the rest of it. Those are the canary in the coal mine. Those are the things that say, damn it, yeah, I'm doing this. The cat in the basket has never set a paw in dirty kitty litter. I don't let that happen because I used to do it to my other cats. And you know what? Cats deserve better than that. They do. My job is to take care of that cat. That kitty litter gets cleaned more than anything. Seriously, that cat goes to the bathroom, I clean the kitty litter. Now, I could buy a robot. I could, but those things are wildly expensive. Doesn't take me more than 3 minutes a day to make sure the squirrel's kitty litter is clean as hell. If I go 3 days without cleaning that, I'm in relapse. There's something seriously wrong with me. I go 2 days, there's something seriously wrong with me. If I go a day, I get the guilt. Oh my God, I didn't do it yesterday. What the hell happened? Write down what you want. Write down what you want. Then write down why. And one of two things is going to happen. You're going to realize it's a damn good reason, or you're going to realize you're a jackwagon. If it's a damn good reason, write down what you're willing to do to get it. And then you start doing it incrementally. And we'll talk about this in other videos. But if you say, I want to lose 100 pounds, it's the most intimidating thing in the entire world, which is why we do 30 days, 6 months, and a year. 100 pounds? Holy crap, I can't lose 100 pounds. Can you lose 5? Then set a goal and a time to lose 5 pounds. And it'll happen. You'll hit it. And then set a goal to lose 5 more or 10 more. Or if you set your goal for 5 and you hit 10, raise the bar a little bit. Raise the bar a little bit. I'd even seen Alan Valentine in the comment section today. I know I talk about Alan a lot. I do. 2 reasons. Number one, I love Alan Valentine. Just a great human being. No joke. A great human being. And he helps me tremendously with this channel. I speak more with Alan than anybody. Right? Any guy, obviously. Linda. But anybody that I'm not romantically involved with, I spend more time on the phone with Alan Valentine than anybody. And he listens to me vent when I need to. And so many shows that I've done here have been right on the heels of a conversation that I had with Alan. And I went, oh, I know exactly what I need to talk about. But I've been blown away at watching that man set goals and achieve them. Way better at it than I am. Way better at it than I am. But I'll tell you something. This summer, this is my summer. It is. Am I at base camp? No, I'm higher than base camp. I promise you. For real. But I think I've been getting too used to the oxygen at the level I'm at. I'm going higher. I am absolutely going higher. I'm going to start shooting for the peak. And this is the summer. I'm going to look back for years. And I'm going to say 2023, holy hell. That was the summer of Tommy. I almost wrote on the thumbnail, 2023, the summer of, insert your name here. Insert your name here. I got a message this morning from someone that said, I just bought a home gym. If I had hair on the back of my neck, it would have been standing up straight. That's somebody that said, I'm not doing this anymore, man. I'm going to change who I am. They started talking about muscle memory. And you know what? Let me tell you something. Muscle memory is a stone cold fact. It is a stone cold fact. Oh, wow. This is frightening. I used to drink only Mountain Dew in my 20s. When I decided to stop with soda and just drink water, I lost over 30 pounds in 40 days. Changed nothing else. I'll tell you what, I bet you slept better too. Mountain Dew's got enough caffeine in it too. You want to hear something really awful? I told you I was not a great person for a very long time in my life. But I used to crank up Spanx Calhoun before going over to see his grandmother. Spanky was a big soda kid, and he was a wild man, but his grandmother and I didn't get along swimmingly. I mean, we faked it, but we didn't like each other much. And if she was taking Spanx on a Sunday, I would get a can of Mountain Dew and go, Spanky, you want this? Boy, he would bounce off the walls. I know that she was in living hell, but it was definitely good for a laugh. I mostly drink water. Good, AZ. I'll tell you something. We had a football coach who once said to Johnny, when you go home tonight, I want you to drink as much water as you can possibly hold. And when Johnny mentioned that to Papa Scoville, it just became a joke that lasted until the day that he left the planet. Honestly, I am not even joking. One of the last things that he said to me, he said to me, promise me that you're going to take care of your mother. That was the big thing. And I said, I promise you, you have my word. He said, I believe you. And drink as much water as you could possibly hold. And then I'll tell you the last one. It's a little off color, but it was another one that Papa Scoville loved. I'll leave you with this one. What do you do with a rhinoceros with 3 balls? You walk them, and then you pitch to the elephant. At least half of you are going to get that joke. The other half are not. You walk him, and you pitch to the elephant. But that was one of Papa Scoville's absolutely favorite joke. Now that I'm sober, I bounce off the walls. I didn't know you were here, Spanks. I didn't know you were here. Yeah, I would give Spanky a Mountain Dew and a couple of Laffy Taffies. Ding, 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 and then send them over to Graham's. My husband's family used to put coffee, 1 Mountain Dew in the baby's bottles. They never got to make any from my girls. Good Lord. That's terrifying. That really is. That's terrifying. 7th son. Glad you enjoyed that. By the way, everybody see that? ZW. Did you catch that? And this is probably the wrong time of night. But there is somebody on the boat that is working very diligently to make changes. And I promised that I would do my damnedest to work the word idiot into my show. And I'm not even sure if I said it right, but apparently I need to learn the lingo. And idiot is something that I got to work on. I think my cat might be a bit of an idiot. Big fan of the cat, by the way, but you know what? Miss V says, wow. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Spanky was not 2 years old when I was giving him this. I mean, he was about 10 or 12, but I would give him a Mountain Dew, and I think I may have used a picture of me doing a backflip on skis as a thumbnail once. It hangs in my living room. It's a very, very big picture of me doing a backflip. The day of that picture was taken. No, it was a different day. But I had taken Spanky up to the mountain, and it was for there was a competition, and there was a friend of mine named Christian who was explaining to my son the concept of the gurn, which in ski lingo is when you go around and get things for free from reps, people like that. And Spanky was walking around with a big bag full of things that people had given him, bragging about how he was gurning. But it was the Red Bull Big. And I went down to talk to him, and I was competing. So there was I had to make a run, and between runs, I was talking to him, and he had been sort of stationed with my friends while I was competing. And I went over and I said, how you doing, Spanky? And he said 75 words in 3 seconds. I wish I had it on tape because you would not believe how funny it was. He went, blah, 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 blah. I went, and I looked at Christian, and he goes, he's been in the Red Bull tent. Spanky had probably a 6-pack of Red Bulls, and it was one of the most frightening experiences ever. I mean, you talk about oh, that's right. Heather saw it when she was here. It is a pretty cool picture. It's from Snowbird, Utah. But yeah, Spanky drank Mountain Dew, and it was just not a good thing. Noise Opera, you are too kind, my friend. I've lost track of how many times you've done that today. This is one of my favorite stories, the Gurn story. It also, hold on one second. Definitely birthing a new me. So I imagine a lot of us are going to stick to it and stay on the boat. I'll tell you something, TNT. I'm not worried about anybody staying on the boat. I mean that. What I want is for people to keep it in first gear with their foot on the floor while they're on the boat, right? We've done 850 of these shows. And sadly, I have let the boat float because of a fear of inadequacy. But I'm over that. That's my commitment. On my goal list, one of them is I'm going to give assignments. You don't have to do them, right? I've always felt somewhat intimidated by saying you need to do this. But you know something? You need to do this. You need to do this. Why? Because every successful SOB on the planet does it. The people who are successful. Let me leave you with this. 10 people said, what a coincidence. I can't seem to ever write down my goals either. It's not a coincidence. We're not where we want to be in life because we haven't made our dreams into goals. We're not where we want to be in life because we have not spent enough of our life with this. Now, we all did it for school. We all did it for this, for you. This, whether it's digital, whether you're typing it, whether you're using a stylus, but writing every single day. Write down just this week what you spent your money on for 1 week and get shocked at the amount of money that you blew. Do it this week, right? This is, I don't know what day it is. Tomorrow's Friday, fiscal week, Friday to Friday. When you get up in the morning and you leave the house, I got $60 in my wallet. If you're somebody that uses plastic, just write down everything you buy for a week. And the ideal thing is it stops you from actually buying the stuff, right? You go to buy it and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to write it down and man, I'm wasting money. But if you just let it all hang out and do what you normally do, you'll realize that you're pissing away hundreds of dollars every single month. And a couple of $100 every single month over the course of a year is $2,400. $2,400 over the course of 4 years is a down payment on a house. It doesn't take much to dramatically change your life. Anthony Robbins used to say that the average person they overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, and they greatly underestimate what they can get done in 10. There are so many things that we're going to talk about, that things that don't even make sense. We used to teach people, I hope Johnny's still here. He's probably going to do his own show because I ran late. But we used to teach people a very simple concept. If you have a mortgage, instead of paying your mortgage, let's say you have $1,000 a month and that's your mortgage. Instead of paying $1,000 a month, pay $500 every 2 weeks. Sounds pretty similar, doesn't it? It's not. It's not even close. If instead of paying $1,000 a month, you pay $500 every 2 weeks, your 30-year note, you'll knock 14 years off of how long it takes. So instead of making that payment for 30 years, you will make that payment for 16 and your house will be paid. You say, how is that possible? Because there are more than, you got 12 months in a year, right? But there are 52 weeks. So 4 times 12 is 48. That means you got 2 extra payments every single year that go directly to principal. And since you're paying and it's actuated over time by going $500 every 2 weeks, and you go, that's real, that's possible? Okay, yeah. And if that works, what if you said, could you do $600 every 2 weeks? Have that extra $200 go to principal? Now you know where your 30-year note's looking at? You're going to knock it out in about a decade. The smallest things, if you stick to them. I'll leave you with this last one, right? Great golf hustle back in the day. Used to get up I was a pretty good golfer at a time in my life, and I was also a dirtbag. So you would get up on the first tee and you would hit one out into the neighborhood, right? The thing would go out into the street and you'd laugh. Boy, that one went a long way. Inevitably, the guy would say, hey, do you want to gamble? Because every golfer gambles. And I would say, yeah, but I didn't bring a lot of dough, How about if we go 10 cents a hole? And he'd go, 10 cents a hole? Come on, dude, just put a little money on it. 10 cents a hole and we'll double it on every hole. And he'd go, yeah, okay. 10, 20, 40, 80, $1.60, 320, 640, 1280, call it 25, 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, right? What are we on? We got 4 holes left. Comes out to be just around 12 or 13 grand by the time you get to 18. Doubling a dime 18 times. The power of all of this stuff that people who are successful do. right? Stop renting, start owning. Say, oh, I'll never pull that off. Yeah, quit buying coffee. Quit buying cigarettes. Quit buying stupid things. Start saving your money. And I promise you, I'll get you out of a rental and into a house, and you can do it inside of 4 years. People think they can do way more than they can in a year, and they have no clue how much they can get done in a decade. And you go, a decade? Take it from somebody that sat in a closet with a toilet, 2 bunks, and another man for a decade. You can change an awful lot in 10 years. You just got to set your mind to it. I'm Tommy. And I'm not phoning it in anymore. And that is the cutest cat in a basket you've ever seen. You ready? Here it comes. Come on, give us one. You got a yawn? He's a good kitty. She's thinking about it. No, not having it. All right, peeps. This is a cat in the basket. I'm Tommy, and we will see you in about 11 hours right here on the deck of Ye Old Lifeboat. Good night, crew. Hey, write it down.